Well, it's Juneteenth, our great new national holiday, so I thought it was the appropriate time to make a new video, or June the 19th for everybody else out there. And so I thought it'd be a good time to do it. I find it interesting if they call it Juneteenth. I mean, why teenth? I mean, why not just June the 19th? But I have a theory that maybe what it really was all about was the fact that that people couldn't remember the date, but they knew it was some teenth. Was it 13th or 18th or, well, 19th? Just call it Juneteenth, and that way you don't have to make any mistakes. But maybe that's wrong. I don't know. At any rate, if you like these videos, please subscribe. Give me a like to help out with the algorithm, and forward to anybody you think would be interested. So I'll get on with this here. Like I said, I think we should give President Donald Trump, of course, credit for the establishment of this new national holiday. I'm not sure if he's going to get it or not, but remember, if his campaign had not scheduled a rally in, I think it was Tulsa, Oklahoma, the site of that hideous riot back in the early 20s, and hence got criticized and had to change the date, I believe, right? If it wasn't for that, probably nobody would, in the national level, would even be hardly aware of this except for selected groups or individuals. I mean, I'd never heard of it before. I understand it's some kind of a Texas state holiday, but it's not one that's really that highly celebrated, I don't believe. Well, anyhow, we have it. It's here, and I guess it'll be a blessing to government workers and whoever else gets it off. It seems to me like it's a kind of a inappropriate time sandwiched right between Memorial Day on the one hand and 4th of July on the other hand. I mean, three of them right in a row like this, yet disconnected. Oh well, such as it is. I guess it's a blessing. Let's get on to some more serious topics, which I want to get into, which is the upcoming debate. H.R. 1 is now evolved into S.1 in the Senate. And apparently Joe Manchin, who's been sitting on the fence for some time, has worked out a compromise with Stacey Abrams, which will allow certain things that the previous bill would prohibit, including things like voter ID, will be allowed. But remember, not required, just allowed. And a lot of the other negative baggage of the original H.R. 1 is still in it. So this is being discussed a little bit. I've heard a few comments on Fox News and so forth about what's upcoming this week, but this coming week is when the big showdown occurs, and it could be a fateful week in American history, because the filibuster to some degree is still on the line. Now, Senator Manchin has stated quite unequivocally he's against eliminating the filibuster, and he wrote an op-ed piece on it, as well as appearing a few weeks ago on the Sunday talk shows about it. And remember, I did a video on that where I directly addressed that subject. And I think he will look like a pretty sniveling individual if he were to back off and end the filibuster over this. So we'll have to see whether or not he keeps his dignity or not. My own thought is perhaps what's really going on here is Senator Manchin is rationalizing his own position within the Democratic Party. After all, his position previously was he would not vote for S1 as it had been, the House variant. And that means even if there was no filibuster, it would still fail, 49 to 51, if he voted against it. So now he's negotiated a position where he could vote for it, okay? And I guess he could vote for cloture. But since 60 votes is required, if it comes down to 50-50, well, he voted for it, but it didn't pass. Blame the Republicans. Now that's my hope is what's going to happen. The question is, would anybody abolish the filibuster over this? Well, that is unclear. Obviously, some extreme Democrats would. But the thing is that this is a bill that's been negotiated between Manchin and Stacey Abrams and the Democrat leadership. It's not a negotiation between the Democrats and the Republicans, or between Manchin and any Republican, to the best of my knowledge. So there's no buy-in on the Republican side on this at all, as far as I can tell. There's no incentive for the Republicans to want to nationalize our elections, but rather to stay with the constitutional system. So, at any rate, that's something that's on the agenda for next week, and we'll have to see what happens. I mean, if in fact the filibuster falls, then a lot else is going to fall along with it. And I think that this will be not the only time that people like Senator Manchin will find himself in a stressed position of voting with the party or voting with the state that he represents. So I'm kind of guardedly optimistic that this thing is going to fail, but you never know. And of course, that's just where we are on this sort of a saga here. One thing I would say about the subject is I don't see that the whole subject has any merit. The claim is that there's some kind of a threat on voting rights, but there's absolutely nothing going on that threatens voting rights for law-abiding citizens. Now, it may threaten the voting rights of illegal voters, of non-citizens, of people who are engaged in fraud. It might very well impact their voting rights, some of the laws that are being passed or contemplated in various Republican-controlled states. But none of them would prevent anybody from voting. And in fact, take a state like Georgia with all the hullabaloos, I understand that the African-American turnout is now higher as a percentage than the white turnout. So, I mean, I don't see what the big complaint is. They actually won. I mean, they got to 2 Senate seats. I mean, so what are they complaining about? I mean, this is sort of an unnecessary attack on the system over something that isn't really necessary. And it literally looks like it's some kind of an attempt to solidify power rather than an attempt to, do something that has to do with propriety or justice or fairness. Well, at any rate, I decided to hit these important topics here as we go forward. And of course, the spending is a little out of control. We do have a compromise bill on infrastructure now, I think at 1.2 trillion, somewhere either between, one of them is under 1 trillion, the other is 1.2 trillion. Maybe we could split the difference at 1.1 trillion or something. So the point is, those that are looking for bipartisanship could have it if they want it, while I hear that the leadership under Schumer and company is proceeding ahead with the idea of a massive bill that would be a reconciliation bill. And of course, with inflation growing and now the Fed warning about inflation, it now is starting to affect the financial markets in an adverse way. One would hope that people will think twice before wasting any more money. After all, we have a lot of unspent appropriations that could be redirected to any necessary infrastructure projects. Well, I'll wrap up this video for now, and we'll keep you informed of everything. By the way, check out my previous video if you haven't already on the FBI's involvement or potential involvement in the January 6th events. I think that's also a very interesting and important topic. Until next time.